How do you know when someone grew up with money? I was in college and had a roommate who was a total slob. He never cleaned up after himself, and I was constantly picking up after him. One day, I had enough and told him he needed to start cleaning up his mess. He looked at me confused and said, "Why don't you just hire a maid?" I laughed, thinking he was joking, but he was serious. I explained that most people can't afford a maid, and he was shocked. He said his family had a maid who cleaned up after him every day, and he thought everyone had one. I told him that wasn't the case, and he needed to start cleaning up after himself. He didn't like that idea, and said he would just pay me to clean up after him. I told him I wasn't his maid, and he needed to learn how to clean up after himself. He didn't like that and ended up moving out a few weeks later. Fast forward a few years, and I ran into him at a bar. We caught up, and he told me he had just gotten back from a trip to Europe. I asked him how he could afford that, and he said his parents paid for it. I asked him what he did for work, and he said he didn't need to work because his parents gave him an allowance. I couldn't believe it. He was in his mid-20s and still living off his parents.